In today's video, we're going to look at using a query function to pull data from a table of data, and in combination with some data validation, we'll be able to create some dynamic charts and dynamic tables. This is the same set of data that I used in a previous video using pivot tables. So I'm just using as a matter of comparison how we can use this with a query function to build up a query statement such as this to produce data such as this, and eventually add some data validation so that we can make the data a little bit more dynamic. So I can change the group by description to category, I can change the dates effective, I can change the number of records selected, and I can change the sort order from ascending to descending, and the charts update dynamically. So let's first of all look at building up our query statement, which at first glance will look quite complicated, but we can see how quickly we can build it up. So first of all, I want to put in the bones of the query function. So it's equals query, and it takes in two parameters. It takes in the data, which we're getting from sheet 1, and the statement itself, the query itself, which we'll get from cell A2. In the moment it's actually pulling back everything. So at the moment the query function is working. So let's add in a small select statement. The only thing to point out here is that the column headings are always uppercase. So I've said select C, D and E, which tells the query function to select everything from column C, column D and column E. Then I might want to change this slightly. So I'll say, well, I want to sum what's in column D and sum what's in column E. But I now need to add a further instruction of group by C. What that's saying is, well, if you're going to sum these items such as clothing and footwear, I want you to group them by these particular category headings. So if I press return, see what happens. And now we have total amounts by each category heading. Next, I want to add a simple instruction, order by sum D. And now the table is now sorted in ascending order, as that is the default, and I can actually add the ESC afterwards, and the sort order just changed, so I can see the most expensive category is groceries. I can also limit the amount of records that are returned by adding a limit and putting in the amount. And now the table just returns the 10 highest ranking items. Then I might want to select by dates, and I'm going to have to insert that in the middle of the statement. So after the sum E, where A, and that's column A, is greater than or equal to, and I have to put in the date. The reason that doesn't return anything is because I need to specify that it's a date. There we go. And the last change I want to make is just to put in some headings. So at the very end, the headings are put in for label. So sum D. And now we've got headings on our top of our columns there. So that statement was built up relatively straightforwardly, and there's some pitfalls to watch out for. The only problem with that statement is that if you want to change one of the values, you have to click in and change something manually. So if I want to change from category to description, I have to select C to select B, but also not only there, but also where it's grouped by C, I have to group by B as well. So I'm changing the statement twice, and now the description comes over here. And similarly, if I want to change the dates, I have to change the effective dates here. So this is where data validation can come in very handily, where instead of actually having these hard-coded items, we can have them as cell references, and we can change the cell with data validation quite easily. So let's look at building this statement up. So I'm just going to copy the statement, the select statement as is, and look to build. So first of all, I want to group by. So I want to group by description or category. So I'm going to right click on this cell and select data validation, and I'm going to select list of items, 2 words that I want, and click on save. Now, we can't feed category or description straight into the statement. So what we need here is an if statement. So it simply goes if cell A2 equals category, comma C. So if I change category to description, C changes to B. So in the select statement, I wanted to look to F2, quotes, ampersand, F2, ampersand, quotes. And I want to put it in everywhere the reference B is. Now what I've done this time is I've embedded the whole select statement into the query function. So the first update is taking the cell reference F2, so whatever F2 says, this will slot in the column reference. So the column reference is here and here. And we can see it working dynamically, so if I change description to category, we could see that the table changes automatically. The next update I want to do is the dates. I can ignore changing these column references, the D, E, and A, because they are never changing and they'll always be fixed. But I want to change these dates here to be dynamic. Now the dates are taken in year, month, day order, which is not particularly user-friendly in that people aren't used to entering dates in that order. So I want people to be able to enter dates in the normal fashion and then somehow change the date to a text. So if I put in 2 candidate dates, what I can do is over here I can reference another cell and use the function equals text, reference the cell and then comma, and it puts the date in the correct format, close bracket. And now I have my 2 dates here, opening date and closing date. So I'll go back to my select statement and overwrite the text here and put in 3 quotations, ampersand and G2, close ampersand and 3 quotes, and similar here, 3 quotes, ampersand H2, ampersand 3 quotes, press return. Figures have already changed, so if I keep the first date the way it is, change the second date the way it is, and change the month second, and we can see the figures changing. So the number of records, so this is the limit. So look to my statement again, and the limit is over here. So instead of this being here, this is just going to directly reference the cell, quotes, ampersand D2, ampersand quotes. Number of records 5, press return, and there we have it, 20. And then finally the sort order, we'll just put in data validation again. So right click, data validation, list of items, comma, DESC, save, sending, descending to my statement, quotes, ampersand, E2, quotes, inverted commas, ampersand. Change ascending to descending. Now I finally want to hide these 3 cells here, so I'm just going to change the font color to white so they're hidden, and as an extra precaution, protect the cells, call them hidden. Only I have access to those particular cells. Now my query is completely dynamic. Now I can start adding some charts. Now what I can do is I can maximize the number of records. The chart is very long. Just click into it. Table is long, and select my charts. So I'm going to select a column chart. Click insert, chart into position, and then just reduce the number of items displayed and watch the chart changing dynamically. And if I want, I can select a pie chart, change the selection just to the first 2 columns, and there we have 2 dynamic charts as they change with the items added or removed. Thank you for watching.